So I'm going to talk about training here. But what inspired this is a video that Paul Barnett did on cycles of pro bodybuilders. And I thought it was interesting what he commented. So he was making the point about how, people obsess about this stuff, and yet they don't do the basic things. And what was interesting is that a similar comment was made by Kurt Havens, again on Paul's channel, and Kurt mentioned how people will contact him and ask him all these specific details of all these things. Kurt's very intelligent. I believe he's an MD and working on a PhD in endocrinology. So he's going to be a FUD-MUD. Yeah, he really knows his endocrinology. And people will contact him and they'll ask very specific questions about all the details of these different drugs and the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of these different drugs and the endocrinology that goes on. And yet they aren't paying attention to simple things like their diet and their training. They don't understand what it is to train a muscle at length, or they don't understand the basics of training, nor do they understand the basics of diet. And this brings me to my point, which is that upon hearing that, I thought about all the questions I get about training. People ask me questions about the stress shortening cycle and, fiber recruitment, the plyometrics, what are the magic standards for plyometrics, like how much do you need to back squat before you do plyometrics, and exactly how long of ground contact time can you have. And people ask me questions about what's the percentage that they're supposed to use for some specific thing, like a panda pull or something like that. And people obsess over all these minute little details. I find it ridiculous sometimes. People obsess over the sets and reps. Like, well, what about if I do 4 sets of 6 instead of 5 sets of 5? It's like, well, then you just add 5 pounds to the bar next week. It doesn't matter which one you do. People obsess over these things to the point where it becomes ridiculous. These little minute details. And everyone always thinks that they're all in. Everyone thinks that they're serious. Everyone tells you that their training is optimal, But yet, if I ask them a question like, well, how many ounces of water did you drink yesterday? They don't know. How many grams of salt did you consume yesterday? They don't know. How many meals did you consume yesterday? You miss meals. Are you really that serious? Because as far as I'm concerned, training, lifting weights and stuff like that, well, part of that is your diet. So how many ounces of water are you drinking? How many grams of protein did you consume? How many meals did you split that up across? Were they evenly spaced? You're not eating meat and rice? What did you have? Oh, you ate shitty, low-quality, high-fat pork. You're still drinking alcohol. You drink beer and IPA and all this bullshit like that. You're not serious. But you're obsessing over these minor details. And this is the part that I find really bizarre. It's like, there's that quote about, like, before you heal someone, ask them if they're willing to give up the things that made them sick. And it's like, in a similar vein, it's like before you help someone, like, ask them if they're willing to stop doing the stupid things they already know they shouldn't be doing. Like, you already know that you shouldn't be doing XYZ, yet you continue to do it. It's like you don't go to bed at a consistent time. I've already made the point before. I've said this. I don't buy into the idea that everyone needs to have 8 hours of sleep. Because if that was true, I'd be fucked. I need like 9.5 to 10 hours of sleep. I need more. If I got 8, I'd feel like shit. Okay? If I sleep 9, sometimes I even go back to bed and take a nap. So, no, not everyone needs 8 hours of sleep. Some of us need more. There are days where I sleep 12. I am exhausted. I need more sleep. But, Jay Cutler slept 5 hours. So, my rule. Just make sure you go to bed and get up at a consistent time. Make sure you go to bed at the same time every night. Make sure you get up at the same time every day. Maybe you need 6, but if you go to bed at midnight and get up at 6 a.m. every day, that's being consistent. You're consistently getting the same 6. You're consistently going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. Maybe you need 8. You go to bed at 10 and get up at 6. It's fine too. It's just as long as you're consistent. Don't go to bed at 8 one day and then, go to bed at midnight another day. But being consistent is more important. Your body finds a rhythm. There's something called a circadian rhythm. I know that's bro science. Circadian rhythm. Chronobiology. Yeah, that's all bro science. But in any case, yeah. These are things that you need to be consistent with. You're not consistently eating. The basic things. People obsess over all this other crap. People obsess over what training split to do. Should I do back and bi on Monday and, legs and calves on Tuesday? And they obsess over all these stupid other details that have nothing to do with anything. You can mix them up in any way you like. Monday does not have to be International Bench Press Day. It could be squat day for you if you like it. Pick whatever you like. Are you hitting everything during the week? Then fuck it. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. Are you recovering? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating enough salt? Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough meals? Are you consistently eating enough meals? Like these other things are so much more important. People can't be bothered with them. But then, then they want to hop on drugs, which I find absolutely terrible. I think it's one of the worst things about social media is the normalization of drug use. I understand. If you're a pro football player watching this, one, thank you. I can't believe you'd be watching me. But if you're a pro football player in the NFL watching this, I understand why you take drugs. I would too. You offer me $1 million to play football, I will take any fucking thing you ask me to take. That's a lot of money. I'll be set for the rest of my life. How'd you like that Tom Brady contract? How'd you like that Aaron Rodgers contract even? I'll blow my Achilles tendon for that kind of money. Fuck would I care? You pay me a year his salary, I'll let you blow my Achilles tendon. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Jose Canseco, Alex Rodriguez. I understand why you take the drugs. That kind of money isn't something you'd come across in most careers. So that makes sense to me. You're a 40-year-old dad. I mean, I don't know. You just have a regular job, something that's not a pro athlete or an actor. I understand Hollywood actors too. Offer me Hugh Jackman's, that kind of paycheck, and I will take whatever you want me to fucking take. You have a regular job. You're 40. What the fuck are you doing? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Because you're spending money on something that doesn't have any return. So, if you spend money and the return is that you make money like LeBron James, I understand. You spend money to what? To be the biggest dad at the T-ball game? I don't really get that. But anyways, the point being, people obsess over this shit. Guys obsess over, what should I take? Should I take Mint or NPP? And it's like, well, you should probably take neither. But this is the kind of stuff that people get hung up on. And people get hung up on, should I do Zercher squats or front squats? Just fucking squat. Oh, well, I think Zerchers are better because, no, they aren't. No, they aren't. But what's your best Zercher squat? 315? No one gives a shit. Like, until you're doing Zercher squats with, 500, 600 pounds, no one gives a shit. What's your best deadlift? Until you're deadlifting 800 pounds, no one gives a shit. So no one cares that you can, I can trap bar deadlift 400 pounds. Yeah, and so can most teenage girls. This is not as complicated and complex as people want to make it. What I'm pointing out here, though, is like, as Paul pointed out, people obsess over, what are the pros doing? Who cares what the fuck the pros are doing? As Kurt pointed out, people obsess over the pharmacokinetics of these drugs, and who cares? You aren't doing the basic things, and until you're doing the basic things, it doesn't matter. And so from my part of the world, people obsess over, oh, well, should I be doing triphasic? Should I be doing super maximal eccentrics? Or should I be using weight releasers? And I'm like, you squat 405. Like, it doesn't make a difference for you. You just need more squats. How do I get my pull-ups up? I can only do one pull-up. I hate to tell you this, but you just need to do more pull-ups. But then those same people will obsess over something else, like, what's the optimal rep range for my, lat pull down or something. Athletes will contact me and they'll ask me questions like, what's the optimal way for me to place my hands for the push-up? And it's like, I don't know. You have a max of 11 push-ups. Use whatever hand placement you like. I'm not saying this to be disparaging. I'm saying this to highlight the point that sometimes you just have to get the other shit dialed in before you start worrying about, it's called majoring in the minors. Before you start majoring in the minors, get the other shit dialed in. And, don't place the cart before the horse. So that's all. It just was an interesting thing. I thought it was interesting listening to these guys talk about how people obsess over drugs, and I thought to myself how strange it is that there are people that obsess over training. And it's like, but you're not even eating and sleeping consistently. So, how obsessed over training do you really want to be? If you can't optimize the easy things, what are you worried about optimizing the hard shit?